There are days when motivation feels strong and clear, and there are days when it completely disappears. Most people believe the first kind of day is the key to success, but real progress usually happens on the second kind, on those quiet, ordinary days when nothing feels exciting. Discipline quietly takes control. I didn't understand this at first. I thought motivation was the engine. I thought discipline was something strict and uncomfortable. But experience slowly taught me something different. One morning, I woke up and felt empty. Not tired, not sick, just mentally drained. I sat on the edge of my bed and said to myself, I don't feel like doing anything today. That sentence is very real. Repeat it with me. I don't feel like doing anything today. Again, I don't feel like doing anything today. In the past, I would wait, I would scroll, I would delay. But that morning, instead of waiting for motivation, I asked a different question. I asked, what can I do even if I don't feel motivated? That question changed my behavior. It removed emotion from the decision. Here is an important sentence to repeat slowly. Discipline works when motivation is unreliable. Again, discipline works when motivation is unreliable. I didn't try to change my life that day. I didn't create a big plan. I did something small. I made my bed. I drank water. I opened my notebook. 10 minutes. That was it. And something interesting happened. Once I started, resistance became weaker. Action created movement. Repeat this sentence carefully. Action creates momentum, not motivation. Again, action creates momentum, not motivation. Over time, I noticed a pattern. On days when I followed my habits, I felt stable. On days when I waited for motivation, everything felt heavier. My mood depended less on how I felt and more on what I did. That shift was quiet, but powerful. Discipline doesn't mean forcing yourself to suffer. Discipline means deciding once and not negotiating every day. When decisions are repeated daily, they drain energy. When decisions are removed, energy is protected. Repeat this sentence clearly. Reducing decisions protects your mental energy. Again, reducing decisions protects your mental energy. As life became busier, discipline became more important. Deadlines increased. Responsibilities grew. Unexpected problems appeared. Some days didn't go as planned. On those days, I stopped trying to be perfect. I focus on being consistent. Here is a sentence with an important B1 to B2 idea. Consistency matters more than intensity. Again, consistency matters more than intensity. There were days when I failed, days when I skipped routines, days when I felt lazy. But instead of quitting, I returned the next day. That return mattered more than the failure itself. Repeat this sentence slowly. Progress continues when you return, not when you quit. Again, progress continues when you return, not when you quit. Discipline also changed how I spoke to myself. I stopped saying, I failed. I started saying, I'll continue tomorrow. This shift reduced guilt and increased resilience. Discipline became a form of self-respect. Here's a sentence worth repeating. Discipline is self-respect in action. Again, discipline is self-respect in action. As habits became stronger, something else changed. My identity started to shift. I stopped saying, I'm trying. I started saying, I'm someone who shows up. That change made habits feel lighter. Repeat this sentence carefully. Your habits reflect how you see yourself. Again, your habits reflect how you see yourself. When habits align with identity, effort decreases. You stop fighting yourself. You act naturally. This is why habits are more powerful than motivation. Motivation is emotional. Habits are structural. Here is a B2 level sentence to shadow. Aligned habits reduce internal resistance. Again, aligned habits reduce internal resistance. Over time, confidence appeared quietly. Not excitement, not pressure, just calm certainty. I trusted my routine. I trusted my system. That trust reduced anxiety and overthinking. Repeat the sentence slowly. Confidence grows through repeated evidence, not talent. Again, confidence grows through repeated evidence, not talent. Habits also protect you during difficult periods. When motivation disappears, habits remain. When life becomes stressful, habits create stability. When energy is low, habits keep you moving forward. Here's another key sentence. Strong habits provide stability during uncertainty. Again, strong habits provide stability during uncertainty. Motivation still exists, but it no longer controls behavior. Discipline guides action. Habits sustain progress. The system works for work, health, and language learning. If you're learning English, this matters. Motivation helps you start. Discipline helps you practice. Habits make you fluent. Let me say one final sentence that connects everything in this episode. Listen carefully and repeat. Small daily habits create long-term transformation. Again, small daily habits create long-term transformation. This episode wasn't about forcing change. It was about building systems that support you when motivation fades. Stay consistent, stay patient, and keep showing up. If this episode helped you, listen again, repeat the sentences, and make it part of your routine. And don't forget to subscribe to the Global Language Podcast. As days passed, I began to notice how discipline shows up in very ordinary moments. Not in big decisions, but in small choices. For example, when my alarm rang and I wanted to stay in bed, discipline didn't shout. It whispered. It reminded me of the routine I had already chosen. I didn't feel excited, but I felt steady. That steadiness mattered. One morning, I almost skipped my routine. I told myself, just today. That sentence sounds harmless, but it's dangerous because just today often becomes many days. I stopped and remembered an important idea. Small excuses slowly weaken strong habits. Again, small excuses slowly weaken strong habits. Discipline helped me pause before acting on impulse. Instead of reacting to how I felt, I followed what I had planned earlier. That's the difference between reacting and choosing. Reacting is emotional. Choosing is intentional. Repeat this sentence carefully. Discipline helps you choose instead of react. Again, discipline helps you choose instead of react. At work, discipline looked simple. It meant starting tasks even when they felt boring. It meant finishing things instead of jumping to something new. Many people wait for motivation to focus, but focus doesn't wait for motivation. Focus is trained. Focus is a skill built through practice, not talent. Again, focus is a skill built through practice, not talent. Some afternoons were harder than others. My energy dropped. My attention wandered. Instead of quitting, I adjusted. I took short breaks. I reduced expectations. I stayed consistent. That flexibility kept discipline alive. Repeat this sentence slowly. Sustainable discipline adapts to changing energy levels. Again, sustainable discipline adapts to changing energy levels. Over time, discipline stopped feeling heavy. It became part of how I lived. I didn't argue with myself as much. I trusted the system I had built. That trust reduced stress and saved energy. Here is another important sentence. Systems reduce stress by removing daily decisions. Again, systems reduce stress by removing daily decisions. Discipline also affected how I handled setbacks. When something went wrong, I didn't panic. I adjusted and continued. That calm response was new for me. It came from repetition, not confidence. Repeat this sentence clearly. Calm responses are trained, not natural. Again, calm responses are trained, not natural. Eventually, habits stopped being something I had to remember. They became automatic. This is when habits truly work. When effort decreases and consistency remains. At that point, habits begin to shape identity. I noticed how my language changed. I stopped saying I should and started saying I do. That shift was subtle but powerful. It reflected how I saw myself. Repeat. Language reveals identity before behavior changes. Again, language reveals identity before behavior changes. When habits align with identity, discipline feels lighter. You don't force yourself. You act naturally. This alignment reduces internal conflict and increases follow-through. Here is a B2 level sentence to shadow. Aligned habits reduce internal friction. Again, aligned habits reduce internal friction. Confidence grew quietly, not because I felt special, but because I had evidence. I showed up repeatedly. I kept promises to myself. That consistency created trust. Repeat this sentence slowly. Self-trust is built through repeated follow-through. Again, self-trust is built through repeated follow-through. Habits also protected me during stressful periods. When motivation disappeared, habits remained. When life became unpredictable, habits provided structure. That structure created stability. Here's an important sentence. Habits create stability when circumstances are uncertain. Again, habits create stability when circumstances are uncertain. I realize that motivation is helpful but unreliable. Discipline is reliable but requires effort. Habits require patience but reward consistency. Motivation starts change, discipline supports it, and habits sustain it. Again, motivation starts change, discipline supports it, and habits sustain it. This applies directly to learning English. Motivation helps you begin. Discipline helps you practice regularly. Habits make progress automatic. And here's the final sentence to remember and repeat. Small daily actions shape your future more than big intentions. Thank you for staying with the Global Language Podcast. Listen again, Repeat the sentences and let habits do the work.